Good evening, welcome. It's now 6 o'clock. I'm handing over to Dr. Nodikira, CEO of SAHBA. Thank you, Dr. Nodikira.
Yes, good evening, colleagues, and thank you very much, Rainier. Welcome, colleagues, to tonight the webinar. As you all know, colleagues, that the healthcare sector has changed dramatically in the recent years, and this evolving of the healthcare landscape is continuing, and it poses, almost prompts us as the association to look for solutions and ways in which we can adapt ourselves to the ever-changing outside environment. And I'm sure a lot of you would remember or would recall that at the beginning of this year, we saw just over 800 of our junior doctors post community service not being able to find employment within the state. And on the basis of that, the South African Medical Association thought it was important to look for partners who would work with SAHBA to make sure that there are alternatives for these young doctors and they're empowered to be able to start their own businesses with the mindset for success. So without wasting time, colleagues, I'm going to introduce to you the speaker of tonight as a webinar, Mr. Stephen Macaronis. You will be forgiven if you think that the surname is Macaroni. But Stephen is the founder and director of the South African Health Business Academy. And he's been teaching and advising doctors in business and in financial management for over 37 years. So we're bringing you quite a lot of experience, and you'll be able to tonight get some insights from Stephen. And I think he's also pioneered this idea of private practice in Australia, and has now partnered with PPS to be able to be the one who develops and delivers the curriculum here in South Africa. So I'm going to hand over to you, Stephen, and thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Dr. Nodikira. I wish it was the only and first time that I'd heard that joke about me being a macaroni. But anyway, thank you. I'm going to share my screen, and I will begin our presentation. Bear with me for just one moment. Please confirm that you can see my opening presentation slide.
We can see it.
Yeah, yes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I almost said good morning because, as you can probably tell from my accent, I'm not speaking to you from South Africa. I am Australian. It is now 2:03 in the morning here in Sydney, Australia. So you will please excuse me if my eyes are a little bit red. I'm a little bit bleary. I hopefully will not stumble in my presentation so early in the morning. It's one that I have delivered many times. So again, my name is Stephen Macaronis. I am the Program Director of the South African Health Business Academy. And I am deeply passionate about helping doctors address the value of their lives. With that word life, I want to play you a video to start our time together, and it pretty much sums up my philosophy to life. Here we go. Turn up your volume. Life is short. Thank you to our friends at Xbox who implore us to play more. Now, life is short. It really is short. And the point of this video is to ram home, if it wasn't already uppermost in your mind, that life is short and there's not a lot of time to get our model for success right. Now, if I could see you, if I could hear you, I would guess that the younger people attending this webinar are probably laughing, thinking, how funny was that? Nice little video, quite humorous. The older people with grey hair, those that have been around for as long as I have, don't laugh at this cautionary tale at all. We know it to be true. Life is short. Don't waste it. And by don't waste it, I don't mean don't enjoy yourselves, don't be too serious. I mean identify what's important to you, identify your goals, and put a strategy together for achieving them. Because as we say in the business planning world, if we don't know where we're going, any road will do. Another saying that's very popular in our space is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So let's move on. 1, 2, don't sue. Everything I am presenting this evening, I should say, I almost stepped into saying this morning. Everything I'm presenting this evening is general information. It's not advice. Of course, we have not considered your specific circumstances. Any individual watching this webinar, we have not considered your particular goals and aspirations. So it's not advice, but information for you to consider. And of course, our suggestion is that should anything that we present this evening be of interest, should we be discussing ideas, concepts, strategies that you think may have relevance for you, then I suggest getting in touch with me. And there's contact details at the end of this webinar, or any business or financial consultant specializing in the medical space that can assist with advising, suggesting recommendations and strategies that are appropriate for you. So moving on, I want to talk a little bit about lessons from the retiring doctor. So as said in the introduction, yes, I have been teaching and advising doctors for over 37 years on business and financial management. For most of that time, I was a financial advisor. Now, as a financial advisor, my job, I thought, was quite simple: to help doctors transfer income into assets into lifestyle. It was really a mathematical equation. How do we ensure that our clients' money lasted longer than they did? So it was about investments and insurances and wealth creation strategies. And I did this work for maybe about 20, 25 years. And don't be fooled by the lack of grey hair on my head. I'm 61 years old this year, and I have been working with doctors on business and financial management strategy and advice all my working life. One day, out of the blue, I receive a phone call from a client that I had known since he was an intern, since he had left his studies and entered into the hospital system. And many years later, it seemed like only the day before I'd first met him, but many years later, he called to say, "Steve, I want to come in and have a chat about retirement planning." And I was quite shocked to hear that. Why? I'm sure you're too young for that. But then I thought, we're the same age. Retirement planning, surely you're too young, surely I'm too young, but actually the reality was that life was short. It had sped past us. And this who was, when I first met him, a young doctor, an intern, was now in his mid-50s. And he was considering, or early 50s, he was considering retirement planning. So he came in, we chatted, we discussed his strategies. Again, we talked about this notion of ensuring that his wealth management resulted in his money lasting longer than he did, and that we left a significant platform for intergenerational success. He wanted to help, of course, his children to succeed through financial help. And one after the other, doctors would come into our practice wanting to discuss, their futures post-work. And I thought, what an interesting opportunity this is to not only address the financial needs of doctors as they're entering retirement, but to discuss the quality of their lives, to go back and think, okay, you're now at a point where you are reaching your twilight years, now at a point where you have been through the struggle of establishing your practices, establishing your professional expertise and reputation, and you're now considering, post-work life, private life, from practice to private life. And I developed what I call the exit survey. I wanted to capture the insights, the wisdom of doctors as they're entering this age, in order to perhaps build some kind of advice or set of recommendations for younger doctors entering medicine, entering their careers. And I asked in this exit survey, I asked a whole lot of questions, a lot of them quantitative and some qualitative. And the most valuable question, or the question that led to the most valuable answers, was, what was your greatest regret? Now, what I'd like to do is to ask you to think about and pose for yourselves, what do you believe was the most often quoted answer to the question, what was your greatest regret? If you could go back in time and ask yourselves, what would you do differently? If you could go back in time and ask and speak to your younger self and say, what should you avoid? What are the pitfalls? What are the mistakes that I've made that you should avoid? What was the most often quoted answer to the question, what was your greatest regret? Now, I don't want to shift from presentation mode in order to be able to see your answers, but I'd like you to answer that question in the chat section of or box within this webinar. What do you believe is the most often quoted regret of the retiring doctor? I have asked this question of thousands and thousands of doctors. I've asked this question of established, mature doctors. I've asked this question of younger doctors projecting forward. What do you believe would be the answer? So please, I'd like you to type in, what do you believe is the most often quoted regret of the retiring doctor? And if I could please have one of the facilitators read to me the answers as they're coming through. I'll read to us all. The most often quoted regret of the retiring doctor.
Mr. Macarunas, unfortunately, the attendees cannot type in the chat.
Cannot type in? No problem. No problem. No problem. Thank you for responding.
Sorry, they can type in Q&A at the
No,
bottom.
they are coming. Okay, so I saw that they were coming in.
Great. Can you read me some of the answers as they're coming in the Q&A?
One of them we will exchange this with Rainier. One of them is that not specializing early.
Okay.
So Mori Bushumane says spending so much time working that they missed out on time with family or pursue their hobbies and passion.
Okay.
Not spending enough time with family. Yeah.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
sounds
Great. That's the answer. That's the answer. I didn't spend enough time.
Okay, there are other things like not getting financial advice early.
Okay.
Didn't have financial planning. Yeah, I think that's basically those.
Thank you. The thank you for that, and please keep answering. That's great. We're going to collate these answers because I am a keen student of this subject. The most often quoted regret. Now, there are different regrets, of course, but the most often quoted regret, the overwhelmingly quoted regret and stated regret of the retiring doctor, certainly in my experience, is they didn't spend enough time with family. Let me unpack that a little bit more. I had a client come in to see me many years ago now. He was a retiring ear, nose, and throat surgeon. And he came into my office, again, a retirement planning session. And by this stage now, we were well and truly shifted from helping our clients accumulate wealth to helping them manage it and certainly manage their lives post their working life. And this this ENT surgeon answered this question in this way: Stephen, my greatest regret is that I didn't have enough family holidays. And he said that once a week I play golf with a couple of colleagues' friends. and we invite some other non-doctors as well, friends, to join us. At the end of our round of golf, we'll sit around in the golf club, we'll have a beer or two, and we'll talk about, what happened in our lives since we last played and since we were last together. And he said that consistently the non-doctors will say that, we gathered with family and friends, and we reminisced about family holidays and great times that we'd had together. And we'd pull out the photo albums and we'd pull out our laptops and go through our digital photos, and we'd relive experiences shared. And he said, Stephen, at my age, you've got to understand that we are more rememberers of great times than actually experiencing them. And my greatest regret is that I can't share those same experiences that my non-medico friends do. Why? Because we never spent any more than 2 consecutive weeks on holiday because we were too worried about leaving our practices and them falling into ruin without us being there. We were afraid of going on holiday because our referrers would find other doctors to refer to in our absence. We were so focused on earning money to compensate our families for the fact that we weren't there, that we were constantly working. So that this vicious cycle of working to provide an appropriate lifestyle for our families, to compensate for the fact that we're always working. How ridiculous is that? So I don't want to labor the point, but I will say this. Any individual that reaches retirement age, the twilight of their years, and looks back and answers the question, what was your greatest regret, with the answer, I didn't spend enough time with family, has failed in life. This is a tragedy. A tragedy. And most doctors will enter retirement with that sentiment, that I didn't spend enough time with family. Is there anything worse than not participating, not being present in the lives of those that we love the most? So that sparked an idea in my mind, that sad moment of realizing that this is the existence. No matter how much money we earn, no matter how much we create what is perceived to be wealth in our lives, if we haven't shared our lives with the most important people, if we haven't helped to be present, or if you haven't been present and helped them to have a well-balanced life through our participation in it, then we have really missed the point of being alive. So I thought about this. Why is this the case? Why? Why is doctor after doctor telling me that they didn't spend enough time with family? And the answer was quite simple. They didn't know how to run their practices as businesses. They didn't know how to manage their financial affairs to buy them freedom to live the lives they wanted to live. So I want you to write down, and this is for your benefit. I'm not going to see these answers, but I would like you, for your benefit, to grab a piece of paper and a pen and write down, why are you here? By that I mean, why have you decided to sign up for and participate in this webinar? What about the title made you interested in learning about the business of medicine and the transition to private practice and the mindset for success? Just write that down. And then as we progress through this webinar, and certainly towards the end, I'm going to revisit this question. Let me just, as you're writing things down, answer this perhaps in the way that others have in the past. Most people participate in education around business and financial management coming from a medical space, because they understand the lack of knowledge, the lack of experience, the lack of education that they've received, and perhaps to a degree feel that they're flying blind with respect to the setting up, the growth, the management, and ultimately the exit from business. And so need to lift their level of knowledge around business and financial management so that they can make informed decisions. Certainly that gap in knowledge, that gap in arrangements and professional relationships in the business space that doctors experience is why what was the catalyst of the establishment of my business and my purpose in life, and certainly the establishment of the South African Health Business Academy. So let me move on. Of course, it's true that medical school is not business school. You don't sign up to become a doctor in order to be a business person. It's very rare to find doctors who have an entrepreneurial flair, that understand the concepts of business, that have gone on to study and learn about how to run practices as businesses. And as a result, they may be effective, but not necessarily successful. So medical school, and certainly South African medical school, and it's acknowledged around the world that the medical schools in South Africa are amongst the best in the world. They are terrific at developing and helping doctors to become effective medical practitioners, able to deliver the art and science of medicine with as much professionalism and certainty as possible. But does that make one successful in life? Is an effective doctor necessarily a successful doctor? I'd like you to consider the following definition or characteristics of the successful doctor. A successful doctor, it has a thriving, growing business and or career, works balanced hours, has little stress in their life. Now, we need some stress in our life, otherwise we are not motivated to get out of bed in the morning, but not so much that it's debilitating. And I suggest, certainly in my experience, that the level of stress experienced by most doctors is at a debilitating level. Debilitating in terms of not allowing them to perform their duties as doctors at an optimal rate, and certainly not allowing them to perform their obligations, their responsibilities, their right as husbands, wives, parents, sons, and daughters. The most important things in life. So stress, is not good if it reaches a level that stops us from being the best that we can be. And a successful medical practitioner leads a rich and rewarding family life. Family is everything. And unfortunately, many doctors, know this instinctively, but don't live lives that support that. The importance of that concept. Successful doctors live economic lives that are diverse, fulfilling, and showing a continuous return on investment. And successful doctors have a plan B in case things go wrong, for peace of mind. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know in my 37 years, and I have worked with and met and had business and financial and personal relationships with thousands of doctors over my years. And I don't know many doctors that can tick each of those boxes. I don't know many doctors, let me put it frankly, and I'm sorry if this is confronting, but I don't know many doctors that live successful lives. They are effective. They're great doctors. Most doctors are incredibly focused on their profession and delivering on their promise to the community that they've set to serve. They are effective clinicians, successful clinicians, but not necessarily successful human beings in terms of the broader sense of the term. So, why? Because they don't understand the concept of leverage. Let me quote a Greek far smarter than me a long time ago who said this. Archimedes said, "Give me a place to stand in a lever long enough and I will move the world." Now, the place that you stand as healthcare professionals is the best place in the world. You are dedicated to your profession, to your knowledge. You're dedicated to making a difference in the lives of your patients and the community that you serve. You are selfless individuals. Medicine is at the heart of everything that you do, and making a difference in the health of the community and in the quality of life of your community is at the core of your existence. The lever that will propel that place that you stand to actually change the world, to move the world, to transform the world, is an understanding of and an implementation of sound principles in business and financial management. Now, what I mean by world, the world that you may wish to transform may simply be your own life, your own experience, your own trajectory, the pathway for success for your family and your loved ones. And perhaps your patient base and everybody that you have direct contact with. And that in itself is a significant aspiration to change that world, to live a life that towards the end of it, you look back and can say that you had significant impact and presence in your family's life. You didn't fall into the trap of not spending enough time with family. That in itself is revolutionary in the medical space. But beyond that, you literally can change the world. The doctors that have a commitment to medicine and also understand scale and understand leverage, understand business and financial management, the doctorpreneurs, as I call them, are changing the world. And there's many of them, and I'm sure you're aware. And you know what? Many of them come from South Africa. You are a country that punches above its weight, as they say, in terms of medical innovation and in terms of the concept of developing healthcare and quality healthcare for all. And the examples. There's many of them. And as I say, South Africa is a leader in medical innovation. So, moving on. Let's talk a little bit about the business of being in business. Unfortunately, most medical practices are simply jobs for the doctors who own them. They are not businesses. What is a business? Let me give you a definition of business that was drummed into me very early on when I first started working as an advisor to doctors. One of my mentors said to me, Steve, if a business is a work environment that allows you to, at a whim, say, I'm going to take some time off. Let me give you an example. You're driving into work one morning and you have this idea. My daughter is finishing her high school this year. She's going to enter university, or varsity, as you put it, next year. She's very interested in dance. Why don't we take some time off after she finishes high school and enroll her in a dance school in Paris and live a Parisian life for 2 months between the end of her high school and the beginning of university, and support her and live that life and enjoy this exotic life in Paris and become Parisians for 2 months. And you immediately call the office on your way into work and you speak to your practice manager and say, this is what I'm doing. In 2 months' time, I'm taking 2 months off. I want you to organize things in the practice so that everything runs smoothly without me. And you do that. You go away for 2 months. You support your daughter in her quest to be this, amateur ballerina. You live a Parisian life. You enjoy all the pleasures of Paris for 2 months. And then you come back to work after 2 months and nothing has skipped a beat. The practice has continued to deliver on its promise. It has continued to thrive. In fact, it's grown whilst you've been away. That is a business. How do you achieve that? Well, that is the whole purpose of SAHBA. That's my purpose, to help you to live the lives you want to live, not the lives you have to live, to help you to achieve freedom. So, can a medical practice be a business? Absolutely it can. I'm not going to quote all the changes, but a lot of people quote, HPCSA states that we can't do this, we can't do that. There's been significant changes since last November. I'm not going to go into them all here, but certainly the concept of building group practice, of building practices that allow you to employ doctors Practices that allow you to generate revenue from non-physical exertion, practices that allow you to establish franchise models, managed care models, practices that thrive despite their owners, where revenue comes in from non-physical exertion, an enterprise, a practice that continues to thrive despite you, not just because of you. The rules and regulations allow you to do that now. It's simply a question of you understanding and stepping into the shoes of the business person, dare I say, the entrepreneur. Now, let's talk a little bit about this. First of all, it requires the right thinking. You are tacticians. You understand how to work in your practices. You understand how to deliver medicine. But do you understand strategic thinking? Do you employ strategic thinking? Do you know how to work on your practices? Do you know how to develop businesses that thrive despite you, not just because of you? And I'm not saying here that you stop being patient-facing and you stop caring about the clinical aspects of your practice. But I am saying, how do you build scale? How do you build businesses that allow you to take 2 months off and they continue to thrive? Let's talk about that in a little bit more detail. You first need to understand the 3 distinct levels of work that are required within any business, whether it be a greengrocer, whether it be a mechanic, an accountant, or a medical practice. 3 distinct levels of work need to be established and organized in order to achieve success in any kind of business. First, there's the technician, the person that does the work, the person that delivers the services of the practice. And that is you, but not only you, perhaps it is also your associates, the employees that are the clinical and professional employees within your practice, your partners, but the technicians, you understand that work, the delivery of medicine and healthcare. And that's at the bottom there. We also need a manager, the person that runs the business of the business. That should not be you. Once we achieve scale, that should be a professional business manager. Now, a manager is not a glorified receptionist, a glorified nurse. They may come from that space, but they need to understand business and they need to run the business and grow the business. At the very top, we need an entrepreneur. Now, don't get me wrong, and the entrepreneur should be you. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that you need to be an Elon Musk, a Richard Branson, or God forbid, a Donald Trump. But an entrepreneur needs to be someone with a vision, someone that says and is prepared to put their money where their mouth is when they say there must be a better way. There should be a better way. There has to be a better way of doing what we do. A vision that our patients require more and demand more than our current healthcare system and models are actually providing. A vision leads to your purpose. And the way we arrive at our vision for our practice and for what we stand for is to ask these questions. What do I stand for? What is my vision? What is the purpose of my practice? What is my promise to the community that I serve? How do I better meet the needs of the healthcare consumer? Now, anybody that isn't comfortable with that concept of a patient being a consumer is doing their patient a disservice, is also doing their practice and their future a disservice, because it's only when we understand that patients are consumers, just like of our services, just like they are consumers of any product or service, that we are then in a position to reimagine what our practice and what our purpose in life is. And yes, it is clinical, but it's also about experience. And it's also about, within the clinical aspect, it's about really understanding what their needs are beyond our specific medical specialization and looking at their needs in a more holistic way. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a few moments. What demands are not being met? Why should they come to me? What is my point of differentiation? Why should they come to me as opposed to anybody else? What do I need to do for my patients and referrers to become raving advocates of my practice? And what do I need to do to attract the best talent to join me? Really important. We need to develop scale. It can't be all about us. If it's all about us and everything that our practice does is based on what sits on our shoulders and our abilities, then we'll never achieve true success. We need to establish scale. And finally, how does my practice model support the life that I want to live? If we're not asking that question, then let me say we're going down pathways that that will lead to significant dissatisfaction, and I've seen too much of that, and that's what inspired me. I don't need to continue working. I've been successful in business financially, and work is something that I do because I love it. I'm passionate about my purpose, and I want you to achieve that as well. And the only way to do that is to really ask that question. How does my practice model support the life that I want to live? Really important. So the answers to these questions will inform your business plan and your financial plan. They will be your blueprint for success. These are not questions. These are not hypothetical questions. I am asking you to, I'm going to go back. I'm asking you to, and we will send to all of you a copy of these slides. But I want you to please not just gloss over this. I want you to actually answer these questions. Because when you do, you start to develop a platform, you start to develop a pathway, a plan, an action plan for moving from where you are to being truly successful in life. So what's the end game? Again, I want you to write this down. I want you to ask yourselves, I'm going to ask you, and I want you to write down, if setting up a practice is the start of the game, what is the end of the game? Ultimately, when anybody builds a business, and I want you to think of your practices as businesses or your prospective practices as businesses. They are a business. Whether you acknowledge it yet or not, they're businesses. Why would one set up a business instead of becoming an employee? The reasons are because we want to practice our expertise, in your case, medicine, based on our principles, our ideals. We want to practice medicine the way we want to, not the way we have to. So it gives you control over the way in which you engage with your patients and the way in which you deliver, medicine and healthcare. But there's another reason why we establish businesses, practices, why we become self-employed as opposed to employees. Perhaps, as was said at the very beginning, there aren't enough jobs in the public system, which I despair over, because there's so many people in the individuals, patients, the community of South Africa are in desperate need of healthcare, and the fact that there aren't jobs means there's a significant mismanagement of your public healthcare system and economics generally. But I'm not going to get into political discussions here. But let's look beyond that. When we set up a practice or any kind of business and accept all the risks and responsibilities associated with that, let me answer that question for you. The end game should be that we are in a position to sell that business, that it has value, that we're not only delivering medicine, we're not only establishing a work environment that allows us to earn income, but any kind of business, anything that any business environment or platform in which we are accepting a certain degree of risk and responsibility should be compensated for through the concept of building saleable value. And despite what anybody tells you, despite what the established practitioners might believe, let me tell you that any business, even a medical business, is saleable if it's run like a business. So the end game of any practice, of any business that is established, is that it has saleable value. If it doesn't, you've done it wrong. Now, why should we be talking about a saleable practice? Let me move on to the next slide. Why should we be talking about a saleable practice to perhaps a whole lot of people attending this webinar who are starting off in life, starting off in practice? It's because a saleable practice is a practice that works. A saleable practice, a practice that is of interest to someone to buy into or buy outright, is a practice that is delivering on its promise to its patients, to the community that it is set out to serve, but also to its employees, both administrative and professional. And certainly to the family, to the doctor, the principals, the owners, but their families as well. So a saleable practice thrives despite its owners, not just because of them. A saleable practice attracts employees, associates, and partners, generates revenue from the work of others, really important, generates capital value and adds to your retirement funds. Again, for the younger people participating here, retirement, you may think it's a long way away, but it seems like only yesterday that I started working, and now I'm 61 and approaching retirement myself. So it flies by. You need to be considering starting with the end in mind. A saleable practice allows you to sell down as little or as much as you want, allows you to keep working on your terms. I'm not going to go into this in detail, but let me tell you, the last thing you want to do at retirement is stop working. The last thing you want to do as you approach your twilight years is stop having a purpose, stop delivering on the needs of others. That is a fast way to fast track to dementia. That is a fast track to dissatisfaction. The important thing is, how do I not retire, but work on my terms? Work the hours that I want, do the work that I want, earn the money that I want. Certainly that is my model. And I've seen many a retired doctor lose their purpose, lose their satisfaction in life because they stop being productive. And there's ways of doing that without stress. And that certainly is all about your practice model and your financial model. So success, what does it look like and how do we get there? I want to remind you that the most important thing about life, what did we say at the very beginning? Life is short. There's not a lot of time to get your model for success right. The other thing I want to remind you about success is it's important early on to establish, and even as you're established in practice, what is important to you? What's really important to you? Yes, financial security, absolutely. Yes, achieving, a quality of life for our loved ones, for our dependents, for our family, absolutely. But surely it's also important for you to practice the medicine you want to, not the medicine you have to. Surely it's also important for you to put at the very forefront delivering on your promise to your community. So, but I'm not going to tell you. You have to answer that question. What's really important to you? What is your purpose? It's also important to understand that there are professionals, there are people who've gone before you who can help guide you, mentors and professionals to help provide advice so that you are not flying blind and so you don't have to make the mistakes and learn from them. It is difficult for most people to get advice, but let me tell you, mentors and advisors, people who have gone before us, or specialists in other aspects of our business, of our professional, business, financial, and personal lives, can save us a lot of time and can help direct us on the path to achieving success based on what our aspirations are, based on what's really important to us. So who am I talking about in terms of the professional side of things? You need a team of professionals. Strategic business consultants, accountants, lawyers, financial advisors, finance consultants, insurance advisors. Let's talk about the billing, the business side of things, billing bureaus, marketing consultants. On both the business and personal side of things, property consultants, recruitment agents, practice software providers, IT, data science, business intelligence, employment consultants. These are all professionals, specialists in their business or financial fields. They are subject matter experts in the same way that you are in your particular medical space. You understand better than almost anyone the importance of specialization. The only reason one might not consider building a team of specialists in each of these areas that undoubtedly, undisputedly will help propel us to success is because we don't trust enough and we are tight with our money and we don't understand the value. Now, this is where you need to lift your level of knowledge so you can make informed decisions. This is why you need to lift your level of knowledge so that you can choose. You can actually go and recruit the appropriate professionals to join your team that have your best interests at heart, that are at the top of their game with respect to their knowledge, their expertise, their understanding of the medical profession. They need to know where you have been, where you are, and where you're going. You should not work with any professional business or financial advisor that is not a medico-client specialist, because your needs, your circumstances, your aspirations are different to others. Absolutely. But you need these people on your team. Will they cost money? Absolutely, of course. Do you charge for your services? Of course. They will also. But let me tell you, the best people that do these things will far exceed their cost in value to you. No question. Do you need to take them all on at the same time? Not necessarily. As you develop, as you grow, as you achieve success in different aspects of your life, as you develop the financial means to pay fees to professionals to join your team, then you should add them. You need to set a set of priorities and build a team, because you need these people. Trying to do this on your own is like trying to self-medicate if you're not a doctor. It's like trying to self-medicate even if you are a doctor, and self-diagnose. So we need specialization in our life. Let me tell you, adopting, adopting, and implementing the strategies of professional service providers in these areas will change your life. So what's our purpose? Let me now, in the few minutes that I've got left, talk a little bit about SAHBA. Our job is to help build future-ready private practices that deliver superior performance, help drive equitable access to high-level care that exceeds the expectations of healthcare consumers, and inform the quality of life of healthcare professionals and their families. That's a big, long statement, but I want to let that sink in for a little bit. I want you to take a deep breath and let that breath out and think about, what's my purpose? What do I exist for? Yes, I have a professional purpose. I'm here to serve the needs of the healthcare consumer. Now, again, I'm calling them consumers. I hope you're not offended by that. I hope you are understanding, hopefully by now, getting a sense of what I mean by that. They are patients, of course they are. But at the same time, they have a choice. Patients have a choice whether they come to you or somebody else. And when somebody has a choice, they become a consumer. And if we are not considering their needs beyond the clinical, if we're not considering their needs in terms of information, education, if we're not understanding that we are living in a time where there is a revolution in patient empowerment, where patients demand a seat at the table with regards to the decision-making with respect to the quality of their life, and certainly the healthcare that they receive and adopt. If we don't understand that yet in this time, in 2024, then we're living in the old paradigm where we believe that patients should just do whatever we say and that we are at the top of the food chain. We're not. The patient is. The patient has a choice. The fact that there are 800 or more recently qualified healthcare professionals in your country that can't find jobs speaks to, despite the fact that you have, despite the ratio of doctor per citizen in your country is so low. Despite that, there is still significant competition. And therefore, for jobs, certainly in the healthcare space, in the public healthcare space. That's why we exist, to help doctors understand that private practice is an option. Private practice certainly can fill that gap. And certainly our purpose is to help you to step into that space, to understand the role of the business person, step into the shoes of the business person. As I say, also the entrepreneur. So this is our purpose. Now, our promise to anybody that participates in the South African Health Business Academy programs, curriculum, is that we will inform you. We will provide information that at times will feel like information overload. We will deliver education that mirrors the quality and effectiveness and the ethical standards of your clinical education. We will educate you on business, financial, and lifestyle management. Because certainly in my opinion, any kind of service that is not delivered through the basic fundamental principles of efficient, effective, successful business is not delivering on its promise to the healthcare consumers, to its patients, or to its stakeholders. Because efficiency is not at the heart of what they do. And efficiency is important, extremely important, crucial if we're going to be effective. And certainly crucial if we're going to be successful with respect to our personal and family's needs. And ultimately, more importantly than information and education, they are important. The most important outcome of participating in our program, and the most important promise that we deliver, that we put to you, is transformation. We aim to transform your relationship with your professional life, with your business life, with your financial life, and with your personal life, with your family. What drives us is what I said at the very beginning of our discussion this evening. And that is that we want to ensure that you live lives that when you look back on them later in life, you don't answer the question, what was your greatest regret, with the most often quoted answer, that you didn't spend enough time with family. We want to help you to develop business and financial lives that allow you freedom to live the life you want to live, to practice the medicine that you want to live. And that can only come in an understanding of sound principles in business and financial management. So this is where I talk a little bit more about SAHBA and what we're doing. Coming up in September, very soon, we are delivering our Transition to Practice courses. Now, of course, I should say at the very onset that our programs are qualify for CPD points. Our 3-day Transition to Practice course attracts 24 ethical CPD points. Let me get that out of the way. That's not why people attend our courses. They attend our courses because they understand, but that is an added benefit. They understand that there is a gap in their knowledge to be truly successful, to truly establish, grow, manage medical practices, to deliver on their promise as efficiently and effectively as possible, but also to allow the leverage for them to change their world, whether it be the broader world of medicine and engagement with the patient community, or simply their own lives and the lives of their families. Really important. So our Transition to Practice course is being run in Johannesburg. You can see the dates there. In Cape Town, you can see the dates there. And in Durban, also the dates there. Very soon, coming up. We will explore the following themes, starting with the end in mind. I mentioned a little bit about that, having a vision, a goal for what you want your life to look like, and building practices that support that model. Reimagining healthcare. We're going to talk about the confluence of advancing technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, data-driven prediction. The future of medicine that's actually not future, it's happening right now. We're going to talk about the confluence of these advancing technologies with the revolution in patient empowerment being led by the democratization of information. So what is the future of medicine? We're going to talk about that and the business models and patient engagement models of the future. We're going to talk about practice setup, medical practice business planning, practice management and the role of the practice manager, systems, policies, and procedures. Once one's established a practice, how do we grow that practice? What are the strategies for growth? Marketing and community engagement. One of my favorite subjects, and something that most medical practitioners, healthcare professionals don't understand the relevance of, the importance of. Marketing is everything, and everything is marketing. And I won't go into it now, we don't have the time, but we spend quite a lot of time unpacking the importance, the relevance of marketing for you to achieve success. And it's not simply about, as you may think, attracting more patients to your practice. It's more about what are the unmet and underserved needs of the healthcare community, of the healthcare consumer, and how do we develop and deliver on those unmet needs to develop our, differentiation, to help build and grow our practice, to really make a difference. We're going to talk about software as a business tool, data science and business intelligence. This is the way of the future, measuring our performance and using those measurements, those metrics, whether it be clinical performance, operational performance, patient engagement and satisfaction, and other measurement classifications in 2024 and beyond, develop their strategy for growth. Fundamental concepts like tax accounting and business structures, the legal framework, employment and recruitment, medico-legal risk management. The list goes on. I won't read them. You can read them for yourselves. We're also going to talk about the personal side of things, wealth creation and lifestyle planning. There's a direct relationship between professional satisfaction and how we manage our money. Because the sooner we get to a point where our assets, where the transition of income into assets and wealth, and then the income that our wealth and our investment portfolio generates, there's a direct relationship between our success in creating wealth in assets has to our ability to practice the medicine that we want to and work in the way that we want to, not the way we have to. Asset protection and estate planning. We're also going to talk about practice design, construction, and fit out, and how one's practice, the physical manifestation of our specialization, our rooms, and what they look like and how they operate. There's a direct relationship between that aspect of our work lives and our ability to attract the right patients, the right referrers, the right staff, professional as well as administrative, and ultimately our ability to sell our practices, and also simply job satisfaction and joy in coming to work every day. So these are the themes that we present over a 3-day course, very comprehensive, face-to-face, very comprehensive, very intensive. Certainly it will be information overload, but at the same time, it is transformational. So here's some testimonials from doctors that have attended the South African Health Business Academy Transition to Practice course last year. We ran our Transition to Practice course in both Johannesburg and Cape Town in November of last year. We had over 200 delegates attend, and we are running this same event in September this year. I won't read them, but as you can see, they are an example of testimonials of sentiment that has emerged that speaks to the power of this kind of education. So, with 1 minute to go, I urge you to scan this QR code right now as we speak. We are offering all SAHBA members a 50% discount on registration to our 3-day Transition to Practice course, from $7,999 to $3,999 with promotion code SAHBA TTP24. Take a photo of that shot. Well, you're going to get copies of these slides in the next day or so.
Stephen,
but
Stephen, I'm gonna need you to say that again about the discount for SAHBA members, and you must say it slowly.
Of course, the standard registration fee for attending our 3-day Transition to Practice course is 7,999 Rand. SAHBA has negotiated on behalf of its members a 50% discount. So if you're a member of SAHBA, you only pay 3,999 Rand for a 3-day, very intensive, very comprehensive course on transition to practice, where you learn everything you've always been afraid to ask about. How do I set up a practice? How do I grow a practice? How do I transition from doctor into business person? Everything we've discussed over the last hour. Great benefit from a great organization that has your needs at heart. To learn more about the course, to connect to the registration page, please scan the QR code in front of you. Take a photo if you can't do it right now, and scan it later. But we urge you to attend, to participate in what I believe will be a life-changing experience. And thank you to SAHBA for understanding the value of this kind of education and offering this course at this discounted rate, or negotiating with us for this. This is below cost for us, but anyway, they drive a hard bargain. Thank you. So finally, I hope I've given you enough time to scan that and to come back to that scan, or come back to that page on our website later. Finally, I want to quote one of the greatest men that has ever existed. We know this around the world. It's not just South Africans that understand the incredible change that your Nelson Mandela has brought to our mindsets around the world. And Mandela said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. I know this to be true. I know that education can help in this space. Education around business and financial management to doctors who have spent their lives dedicated to education, but have done so, participated in education from the perspective of clinical knowledge. I know how much an understanding of the basic principles of business and financial management, helping doctors to understand how to become business people, how to become entrepreneurs, how that can change their lives, but beyond that, how it can change the world. And this is what I live for. This is my purpose, to help you to become doctorpreneurs. I'm interested in big, bold aspirations. And I believe the doctor that is a business person can absolutely change the trajectory of life of thousands of millions of billions. And that's what I live for. So finally, I want to play you a video, another video. I've talked about the importance of understanding business and financial management, of bringing this vocabulary to your life. If you're going to engage with professionals in the business and financial services that specialize in the medical space to help propel you to success, you need to speak the same language. And if we achieve nothing else than helping you to speak the same language, to develop enough knowledge around business and financial management, not to become experts, but to understand the right questions to ask and understand how to assess the answers to those questions such that you make informed decisions, then we've achieved our goal. So I want to play you a final video before I say goodbye around the importance of language and speaking the same language. Here we go.
Das hier ist mein Sektor. Das hier ist das wichtigste Gerät des Küstenwächters. Das Gerät und das Gerät. Überlebensradar. Mayday, Mayday. Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you... Over. We are sinking. We are sinking.
Hello? This is the German Coast Guard.
We are sinking. We're sinking.
What are you thinking about?
So with that, oops, I'm sorry, it's still playing. Let me get rid of that. So with that final piece of humorous video, I bid you farewell. Thank you for participating, and I hope to see you all at our courses in September. Bye-bye from me.
Thank you very much, Steve. Would really, really appreciate that. I see the colleagues, they have some questions, but I don't know, Renee, if we have enough time to take the questions.
You can take a couple of questions, Dr. Nodikida.
Okay. We just have two, actually, I think. There's one that is coming from Nathaniel, who said, I was once told that tactics can or may change, but strategies should not change. If well structured, what's your comment? And maybe you can take this one too quickly, Stephen. That says,
Sure,
is
sure,
this
sure.
model
Look,
is this model
yeah,
applicable? Okay, you want to go?
sorry,
You can
go on. Okay, absolutely, 100% agree with that. Strategy should not change. Well, sorry, let me put that a different way. We have specific goals and aspirations in life, and life changes. Everything changes, and the environment around us changes, such that sometimes what we are aspiring for needs to adapt to the changing environment. So therefore, our strategy changes in a micro way in terms of what we need to modify in order for our efforts to be now directed to another goal. But ultimately, our strategy is around success, whatever success means to us. So if we need to make some slight modifications to the day-to-day, implementation and initiatives that we're employing to achieve our goals, so be it. But that doesn't necessarily mean a strategy change. So I'm speaking quickly because I know we don't have a lot of time. We're over time, but I do agree with that concept. But it doesn't mean that we are not inflexible. Really important to be flexible and to change with the changing times. And certainly, strategy is more important than product and fixed ways of doing things. Strategy is an overall pathway to achieving whatever success looks like for us. I hope that answers your question.
No, thanks, Stephen. I think the colleagues would have to attend the course also. I think we should also just be economical in terms of what we're answering here. They need to attend the courses. If you're a SAHBA member, you're lucky. It's we've negotiated on your behalf. Yeah, so I think at this point we can close it here, Stephen, and thank you very much, Renee. And thank you, colleagues, for making the time. Really appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.